Deltarune right now is at its peak. Chapters 3 and 4 came out a few months ago, Chapter 5 is coming out next year, except I've still got one thing on my mind. What the hell is going on in the weird route? Now the weird route, snow grey, whatever you call it, I don't care. I just want to talk about why this is so creepy to me. This isn't going to be some big over-analysis video where we look at like one line of dialogue from an obscure part of the game and try and compare it to something. It's not going to be like that. I just want to talk about how uncomfortable it makes you feel. For that, we're going to have to go back all the way to the start. The year is 2018, YouTube Rewind made everyone depressed, Spider-Verse had just dropped and everyone's doing the floss on national television. And it's a great year for one Robert Fox. Now everybody knows Undertale was tweaking in 2016, but then in 2018 it grew a second wind or something, it just randomly came back into popularity. Everyone was making Megalovania memes, Fortnite default dance sans memes. It was a strange time, and at the same time, he had released his dream game, Deltarune. At the time, nobody really took it seriously, to be honest. Everyone was just calling it Undertale 2 and they're calling it trash. One thing about the game that was heavily advertised, there was only one ending. Now this is kind of weird because Undertale had like 93 endings. And do you want to see those 93 endings? Well, here it is. So to go from that to just one was bizarre. In fact, like the entire game is kind of built around this thing. So if that's the direction Toby wants to go, I guess it was the direction he was going to go. Then he did something that changed everything. He lied. He just lied to our faces and said there will only be one ending. Because a few years later, 2021 Chapter 2 releases. Looking back at 2021, nothing notable really happened. So anyway, Chapter 2 is released. It was supposed to be a normal chapter, messing around with new characters. Turned into something weirder. No pun intended. Oh, God. So when Chapter 2 first released, everything was normal, but one thing was still in the back of everyone's minds, the genocide route. See, in Undertale, that was its most popular thing. I mean, Sans and Megalovania was more popular than the game itself. So everyone was expecting Deltarune to have it, and it just didn't have it. Except now there was. So most people would just continue forwards and play the game like nothing was wrong, but no. Some people decided to turn around and use that freeze spell on everyone. And once they turned around, it was GG. Pop-up doesn't matter, Ice Shock. Task? Nah, Ice Shock. Noelle was catching body after body. And the interesting part about it is, Chris doesn't do any of it. Chris is just telling Noelle what to do here. And poor Noelle, man, she's absolutely terrified. In the dark world, completely confused and lost. And suddenly this childhood friend is just tormenting her into killing people. Anyway, go back, everyone's cleared out, things start to change. You go up to this like random guy, and he offers to sell you a ring. Unfortunately, your broke ass can't afford it. So what do? You just straight up murk him and take the ring. Well, I'd say you, it was Noelle who did that. See, this is how it messes with your brain. It's not you or Chris doing any of this, or Noelle. You're just manipulating this. It's so messed up. So anyway, now the thing's completely changed. Music's different, enemies are running away from you, and Noelle is moving like King Von. It gets to this point where there's this puzzle where you have to step on a tile to cross, you know, regular thing. However, after the puzzle, Noelle thinks about stepping off the switch, which would obviously lead to us being fried. And then up comes the options, it's horrible, it's natural. Now, this is particularly haunting for two reasons. Number one, it shows how Noelle has changed since the start of the chapter. At the start, she would never hurt a thing, but now she's thinking about hurting her childhood friend. Second of all, it is revealed that this was actually a thought, not something being said out loud. So Toby has taken the idea of text boxes in the game, us being able to read them and hear them, and us being able to respond to us hearing it. I don't understand, because Chris didn't hear it, but we're just making Chris say these things because we heard it, which is absolutely insane storytelling. Anyway, the new ring is super OP because we just one hit everything. So we've killed everything, the bagel guys aren't here, and you can see the descriptions of the characters changed. It just says level 2 leader, commands, if that even is level anyway. And then Noelle says Frost Monster freezes the enemy. It did not say these things before, I'm not gonna lie. So while you're going around killing everyone, you come across this dumpster. Some weird guy is trying to sell you something, I don't know. And at the end here he says this, 5 left. This cheeky little reference to the genocide route from Undertale. Because at every star point it would say this thing, or determination. What even are these things called anyway? Save points, right? So anyway, more people die, you do the next puzzle which you almost push Noelle into the laser. And Noelle starts talking about how the battles are blowing together. And at the end she says this, should we find some more enemies? And every time anything weird happens, this sound effect plays. This damn sound effect. I remember my first time playing through the weird route, and every time I heard the sound effect I just started laughing. I don't know why, but it's just such a funny sound. Now I don't know what that says about me, but anyway, more people die and eventually you get the Thorn Ring. That weird guy in the dumpster sells it to you for 1997 chromo. I'm sure he doesn't matter. And look who appears but Birdly. And the world's brain is so fried, just says should I freeze them without even looking at Birdly. Noelle finally recognizes Birdly and this tune starts playing. and that's when you know everything's about to get cooked. Burley pulls out the halberd, and even his sprite has changed. He's locked in. Can we take a second to appreciate how Burley is the only character in the game who's realized that Noelle is messed up, Chris is messed up, everything's just messed up. He's the only one who realizes, no one else has. Well, maybe Rouse has, but he doesn't do anything. He's too much of a bitch. Anyway, so you go to check Burley and all it says is weakness, ice. So you're like, okay, bet. And you see a new spell has appeared, Snowgrave, fatal. It's like, okay, let's use it. The world just doesn't want to use it, so you just keep saying use it, and then eventually Burley is just straight up dead. Okay, well, we found out later that he wasn't dead, but at the time everyone thought this guy was just dead. And you could blame him, look at the state of the guy. And after all that, all the madness, we go through the manhole, climb out, and act as if nothing has happened. Everyone else is clueless to the things you've done. And you basically skip through a third of the chapter by just skipping through like almost the whole mansion. And the mansion's been taken over by this guy. There's more weird stuff going on, like Chris refusing to watch the cutscene. And also in this one scene, there's like a 20% chance that Ralsei's sprite will just stare at you. It's kind of weird. We get to Queen, and obviously at this point you fight Big Queen, you know. But no. Instead, you just skip the fight and just go directly to the fountain. So chapter 2 just ends with you seeing the fountain like that. No boss fight, no anything. Obviously, I'm just messing with you. You do fight Spamton here. And he starts talking to you about some weird stuff. Like, he does some foreshadowing here as well. It's kind of creepy. Like, for instance, here he says, when you're crying in a broken home, wishing you let your old pal Spamton kill you. Which foreshadows this one scene from chapter 4. Boobies! Anyway, one of the creepiest things is at the end of the fight. When you're calling for help, it says, but nobody came, which is already weird enough in itself. That's from the Undertale Genocide route, when you have to do the Walk of Shame. And then not only that, but in all the other ones, it says Chris called for help. But on Noelle's one, it says you whispered Noelle's name, which is, yeah. Anyway, you pop Spamton, and you wake up. Noelle is acting much different here. Usually in the normal cutscene she just runs away, but here she's just confronting Susie about the tail thing. And Bradley's also dead. Well, sleeping. And then there's the cutscene in a hospital, which is even more horrifying. We basically tell Noelle, I can hear your thoughts, and we're gonna kill her. So it's very cool. And that was it for the next 4 years. This cheeky bastard.
Actually, that's creepy.
Had an ending like this and just left us completely in the dark for 4 years. 4 long years. And it's kind of crazy to think about how quickly the years went by, because I could have sworn chapter 2 released like a week ago. But we're not here to discuss the never-ending passage of time. We're here to talk about this thingy. Because we are 4 years in the future and we know what happens next. In chapter 3, there's only like a couple dialogue changes. I don't know why. I guess he just couldn't be bothered to do anything, but whatever. I mean, there's not like he could do anything in chapter 3. You spend the whole thing inside the TV world, so unless you're doing like live beheadings, and I don't know what you could do in the weird route. So we start in chapter 4. And everything seems fine. Tenna's dead, but that can happen in a normal playthrough, whatever, it doesn't matter. So you go to church to probably atone for your sins you committed last night. And then you can notice some things are different. Not crazy different, but you can notice it. Because when you go talk to Noelle, she's acting kind of weird. Oh, I keep saying weird. She's acting kind of strange. And the cutscene with Susie is different as well, because Susie asked Noelle originally, Susie asked Noelle to hang out, but in this version, Noelle is actually asking Susie. And then when you get to the house, everything's normal, but normally, Bradley is supposed to call Noelle here. But the problem is, Bradley's fucking dead. So instead, Noelle's mother calls her, and she just lies about stuff to her mother's face, which is kind of crazy. And then eventually, you get the guitar, and Chris puts you out, and then you're supposed to get in the present. You actually end up in the drawer. And then, well, Chris want to talk about something. What something do you think they want to talk about? So you get locked in the present like normal, and you can actually go down to the basement and see Susie searching for clues. And Susie, she might be the biggest collateral in this game. She doesn't know about the weird route, she doesn't know about Chris's connections with like the night. And the whole time this song is playing, and it might be one of the most depressing songs I've ever heard in my life. And the title is also weirdly vague. So eventually, after like stumbling around in the vents for 5 minutes, you end up in Noelle's room. So Noelle starts talking about this thing that happened. I don't know when it happened, but like after like chapter 2, I guess Chris was being nice to her for like the very first time in like 15 years. She was like, yeah, I appreciate that. And then she says, oh, I want to talk about something else too. And then the option proceed comes up, and this is where you know shit is about to go down. You're in the room, and there's a bunch of different ways this can turn out, but there's only actually 2 because if you don't possess Chris, then they just run out, like gritting their teeth and stuff. It's like the only time Chris has shown any emotion. And there's also one scene where Noel slaps the shit out of Chris, but that's kind of it. And then Noel talks about this secret conversation they had when you were not there. Obviously, that's gonna make me quite angry, you know, talking about me behind my back. So Chris covers her mouth trying to shut her up. And then Noel is confused, asking who's gonna hear? And then you see this pop up, and you know it's done. And then Noelle rightfully shits herself and keeps saying it's just a joke, it's just a prank. And you can, if you want to back out, you can say it's just a prank. I don't know how you would believe that's a prank, like everything about that, how I don't know how that could be a prank. But it's some cope, whatever, you know, it's not a prank. Just say it didn't snow, and you can say it snowed, which is like not very nice. And then a quip pops up. What are we equipping? That's right, the phone ring. Give it up for the phone ring. So you equip it and this little melody plays. I'm sure it doesn't actually like mean anything. And then Chris literally throws us in the trash and starts beating the shit out of us. And then thankfully Asgore actually saves us, so shout out Asgore, man. Anyway, we go back in Chris, and you can see the HP is now 10. It was not 10 before. And after this, there's a couple more changes. There's like this thing, as you ask you a question and then you just don't respond and the screen goes red. Now we gotta wait like a few more months to get to see what happens next, right? 'Cause, you know, we're all interested in seeing what could happen next to these people. What horrifying things will happen to them next time we see them. Some people still haven't even done this path as well. I always hear people saying stuff like, "Oh, I could never do the weird route." And to an extent, I can get, you know, you like these characters, you don't want to hurt them. I get, right? But at the same time, it's a video game. It is not real. And I always see people saying stuff like this. To be fair, I used to think the same way. Like, I don't want to hurt these characters I care so much about. But at the same time, it does not matter. Noelle isn't real. Chris isn't real. Birdie isn't real. None of it matters. None of this actually matters. Listen, if you don't want to play it, that's fine. Some people just aren't interested, honestly. But at the same time, don't act like you're better than anyone else because you just didn't kill someone in a video game. And I get that's the whole point. Yeah, it is just a video game. That the killing doesn't mean anything to us and it's real to the characters, and that's how he gets you. That's how Toby gets you, because he knows that's how people think about it. But at the end of the day, it's just true. I don't know, he's really good at writing stuff like this for some reason. He's kind of got a tapped brain. The thing is, well, it's probably not even original. He probably just got most of these ideas from like a niche webcomic from like 2007 and no one would even ever know. Anyway, that's all I've got. See ya.